Level 1. The first conversation. You are 31, you have been in custody for 9 days, and a man you do not know has asked to speak with you in a room without cameras. He is not threatening, he is polite, and he is holding a folder, and he already knows the sentence you are facing. He says there might be a way this goes differently, and here's the thing that decides everything afterwards, and almost nobody understands it at this moment. Nothing he says to you is enforceable. He cannot promise you a sentence. He does not control the judge. What he can offer is a recommendation made later by someone else in a document you will not see. That is the lesson of level 1. You are being asked to give something certain and permanent in exchange for something conditional and revocable, and the asymmetry never improves. Level 2. The debrief. You have said yes in principle, and the first thing they want is everything you already know. This is not one conversation. It is many, over weeks, with the same questions asked in different orders, because they are testing consistency as much as content. And you learn the central rule immediately. You must give up your own conduct too. Full disclosure. Every offense, including the ones nobody has charged you with, which means you have just written the prosecution's case against yourself, in your own words, in exchange for nothing yet. That is the lesson of level 2. The first thing cooperation costs is not loyalty. It is your right to silence handed over in full before anybody has committed to a single thing in return. Level 3. The value problem. You now find out what you are actually worth, and it is a market. Because information is priced by what it delivers. Historical knowledge is nearly worthless. They may already have it, and it convicts nobody new. What has value is somebody above you, an evidence that stands up. So the person with most to trade is not the small offender. It is the one who was closest to the top, who saw the most, and who therefore did the most. That is the lesson of level 3, and it is the structural absurdity of the whole system. The more serious your involvement, the more you have to sell, and the better the deal you can get. The lowest level participant has nothing to offer and takes the full sentence. Level 4. The wire. They want you to go back in. Historical testimony is one thing, a recording of an offense being planned is another, and it is worth far more because it does not depend on a jury believing you. So you return to the same rooms and the same people, carrying a device, having conversations designed to produce admissible sentences. You are steering gently towards specific words, and you are doing it with people who know you at close range for months, and you cannot tell anyone. Not your partner, not your family. The people who think you are still what you were are also the people who would be in danger if they knew, and the strain of that is the part every account of this work describes as the worst. That is the lesson of level 4. This is the first level where you stopped being a witness and became an instrument, and instruments are used until they break or stop working. Level 5. The custody problem. You are in a facility and somebody has noticed. The paperwork gives it away. Movements that do not fit. A court appearance nobody can explain. A transfer at short notice. The knowledge that you were arrested with 3 others and only you have gone quiet. So you are moved into protective custody. And here is what that actually means. Near total isolation, confined for the overwhelming majority of the day, limited association, limited programs, limited visits. The unit that protects you also removes almost everything that makes a sentence survivable. Many people ask to come off it and go back onto the main wing, knowing exactly what that means because the isolation is worse than the risk. That is the lesson of level 5. The protection is real, and it is administered as a form of solitary confinement, and nobody explains that in the room at level 1. And now the part these videos skip. We have described this from the inside as a series of decisions, so it is worth being exact about what this system produces when it goes wrong, because the failures are documented and they are not rare. Incentivized testimony is one of the most consistent contributing factors in wrongful convictions. When you pay a witness in years of his own life, you have created a powerful reason to say what the buyer wants to hear, and the buyer is not always careful about whether it is true. The jailhouse informant is the sharpest version. A person with nothing to trade discovers that a confession he overheard is a currency, and the confession is easy to invent because it cannot be disproved. Multiple jurisdictions have had to build registries and disclosure rules specifically because of how often this went wrong, and the people on the other end are not organizations. They are individuals who lost decades, and in some cases everything, on the word of somebody who was being paid in freedom. That is not an argument that cooperation is never legitimate. It is the reason the safeguards exist and the reason they were built after the fact. Level 6. The witness. You are in court, and this is where the arrangement stops being private. The defense will not seriously dispute what you saw. They will dispute you. Your record, your deal, every inconsistency across every debrief, and the simple proposition that a man being paid in years has a reason to say this, and the deal must be disclosed. The jury is told exactly what you are getting, which is the safeguard, and it is also the weapon used against you. You will spend days on cross-examination being taken through the worst things you have ever done in public by someone whose job is to make you look like a person who would say anything. That is the lesson of level 6. You are not a witness to the events. You are the event being examined, and the case may turn on whether a jury dislikes you less than it dislikes the defendant. Level 7. The sentence. The recommendation is made. A motion is filed noting your assistance, and the judge takes it into account. Reductions can be substantial. They are also entirely discretionary, and they arrive after everything you gave has already been given and cannot be taken back. And there is a second timing problem that is genuinely cruel. The reduction depends on the value of your cooperation, and the value is not known until the prosecutions conclude, which may be years after your own sentencing. People are sentenced first and rewarded later, and some of them wait in custody for the trial that determines what their information was worth. That is the lesson of level 7. Every other participant in this structure got certainty at the moment they acted. You got a note in a file and await level 8. Afterwards, you are out and you are not returning to your life. If the risk is assessed as serious, there is a protection program, a new name, a new place, no contact with anyone you knew. Some people do that. Most do not qualify and manage informally, move city, change work, stay quiet. Either way, the same thing is true. The record follows you. Prosecutions are public. A search engine is a permanent disclosure mechanism, and there is no expiry on it, and the association is the thing that is hardest to convey. Not danger every day. Most former informants are not hunted. It is being permanently, publicly categorized in a way that closes ordinary doors quietly and without appeal. That is the lesson of level 8. The sentence ended. The status did not. Level 9. What the top actually is. Here is what happened to the people who reached it. The ones with the most to trade, who got the largest reductions. Several served a fraction of what they would have. Some were released into programs and left them because the conditions were unbearable and went back to their old cities under their own names. A number were prosecuted again, and the most senior figures, the ones whose evidence brought down an entire organization, are the clearest illustration of the whole structure. They did the most harm, they had the most to sell, and they served the least. The people below them, who knew nothing worth buying, served the most. So look back at the 31-year-old in the room with no cameras. He was not offered a deal. He was offered the possibility of one in exchange for something immediate, total, and irreversible. Every level after that asked for more. His silence, his conduct, his associations, his name, against a reduction that stayed conditional until the very end. At the bottom, a man giving up his right to silence for a maybe. In the middle, a man wearing a device among people who trusted him, unable to tell anyone. Near the top, a witness being cross-examined about his own worst acts in public. And at the very top, the person who did the most damage, walking out earliest, because that is what the system is designed to buy. If this changed how you think about the word informant, share it, subscribe if you are new here. Every week we take one structure apart from the bottom up and count out what it actually costs to climb.